We haven't yet started the halqa, Sheikh sir.
Ji,
We haven't yet started.
it's starting now.
I was sitting at the office. I saw the message and I was like, okay, all right, let's join in. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wa kafa. Wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa amma ba'd. Wa a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa kullun wa'dallahu al-husna. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم رب يسر ولا تعسر تمم بالخير وبك نستعين ربي زدني علما يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح حدیث مبارکہ میں آتا ہے that Rasulullah صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم said Abu Bakr fil Jannah wa Umar fil Jannah وعثمان في الجنة وعلي في الجنة وطلحة في الجنة وزبير في الجنة وعبد الرحمن بن عوف في الجنة وسعد في الجنة وسعيد في الجنة وأبو عبيدة بن جراح في الجنة. So these are the 10 Sahaba who are also called Ashra Mubashara. They are called Ashra Mubashara because they were given the glad tidings of Jannah in one sitting, in one go. They were given the glad tidings of Jannah. There are other Sahaba Ikram radiallahu ta'ala ajma'in who were given the glad tidings of Jannah in this dunya, but because these Sahabas were given glad tidings for Jannah in one go, therefore they are called Ashra Mubashara. Ashra Mubashara means the 10 with glad tidings. We started this series 2 weeks ago with the intention of getting to know some of the great personalities who have played a fundamental role in bringing Islam to us. And Alhamdulillah, with the first part, we understood the role of Sahaba Ikram radiallahu ta'ala ajma'in. In the second part, we did the first of the Ashra Mubashara Sahabi al-Awwaleen, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. We learned about him, and the entire idea was to learn about him in a manner that should increase us in our love for Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. Our effort for while covering the second of the Ashra Mubashara, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, would be the same, to talk about him, not to go through the historical facts, but rather the things that would draw us closer to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, in our love for Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, in our admiration for who he was and what he stood for, and with the hope that it would inspire us to develop the characteristic such that was the personality of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Sayyidina Umar was from the Quraysh. His lineage goes up, and on the 9th great-grandfather of his are combined great-grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. So if you go 9 up in his lineage, you will find that they have a common individual. Therefore, they were both from Quraysh, and he was now a very far relative of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. Sayyidina Umar always had a very striking personality, and that was the reason that even before he embraced Islam, he was considered as the ambassador of Quraysh. Whenever there was a requirement for Quraysh to send somebody to represent them in discussions and some negotiations or in any bargain, they would prefer to send Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, because he had good physique, he was tall, he had a good personality, he was also a very learned person, so he also had this control over how he spoke and what the Zuban ka kamal tha unke paas, as our friend Umar also does have that, right? So so he had that, and that's why they say that the names have an effect. So the Hadeeth of Rasulullah, you should be careful about what you name people. Names have effect. So we make dua that the other aspects of Umar radiallahu ta'ala also come in as well, but certainly this one is there, right? So the Quraysh would feel proud that we have such a person who can go and represent us in these matters. And even after he embraced Islam, Sayyidina Umar actually was always considered as one of the ulama in our deen. So a lot of Sahabi after Rasulullah would come to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu for understanding that how this matter should be dealt with. He would be able to then tell them that this is how it should be. So he was among those few Sahaba who would act as the mufti after Rasulullah and would give the fatwas on how things should be done or how things should be interpreted. Rasulullah loved Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved Umar radiallahu ta'ala. And this fact about the love of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu came across many a times in the life of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, even when Rasulullah himself was there. Rasulullah gave around about more than 4 to 5 times the glad tidings of Jannah to Umar radiallahu ta'ala. One is the hadith that I just recited. But apart from that, it comes that once Rasulullah was waiting in a garden and Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ashari was with him, and he was in his khidmat at that point in time. Rasulullah was relaxing. He was sitting on the edge of the well, and it was warm weather. He was just sitting over there to cool down, and he said to Sayyidina Abu Musa that close the door of the garden. If you go to Madinah Munawwara, there's still that garden and the well is preserved. You can actually go and visit that, where this incident took place. So Sayyidina Abu Musa, he closed the door, and Rasulullah said that whoever comes, ask them to knock first and let me know who it is, and then I'll tell you whether to open or not. So after a while, there was a knock on the door, and he said, who is it? He said, Abu Bakr. The one who was knocking said, Abu Bakr. So he went to Rasulullah and said, Abu Bakr is at the door. So he said, call him in and tell him that inshallah he will be from the Jannah. After that, there was another knock, and then Abu Musa asked who this is, and Umar radiallahu ta'ala replied that Umar. So he informed Rasulullah that this is Umar radiallahu ta'ala who's at the door. So Rasulullah said to him that open the door, let him in, and give him the glad tidings of Jannah. Then on another occasion, Rasulullah said that he narrated a dream to Umar radiallahu ta'ala. He said, Umar, I saw a dream. I saw that I was in Jannah, and in the Jannah I saw a very beautiful palace, a palace which was, at the bank of a river, and some steps of it were within the river, and it was remarkable. It was beautiful. And as I moved forward, I saw that there were some women who were sitting at the bank of the river, and they were doing some chores. So I asked the angel, whose palace is this in Jannah? So the angel said to me, this is Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu's palace. So he then goes to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Rasulullah. He says that, Umar, I actually really wanted to go inside and see the beauty of that palace. But then I got scared of your ghairat, because you're a very guyur insan, and I did not know how you would react knowing that your ladies are in the house and I had come. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala, when he heard this, he started crying. He said, Ya Rasulullah, would I show ghairat to you? Would if you were to come into my house, that would be such an honor for me. Why would I be showing ghairat to you? Once Rasulullah was standing on the Uhud, and the Uhud started shaking. So Rasulullah stomped his foot on the Uhud and told it to stop. He said, "O Uhud, stop. Do you not know that standing on you is a Nabi, a Siddiq, and a Shaheed?" So at that point in time, he said, and 2 Shaheed. So at that point in time, standing on Uhud with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam were Abu Bakr Siddiq and Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So he had given them the basharat of shahadat as well at that point in time. Rasulullah used to say that the ummahs before, there were some people who were muhaddas. There are 2 words. One is muhaddis and the other is muhaddas. Muhaddis is the one who narrates hadith, who specializes in the science of hadith, is muhaddis. And the one who has ilham. Ilham is ilham को कैसे उर्दू में?
Rap guided, sort of like.
या तो उर्दू में translation करें.
Epiphany.
Epiphany. जी
विजन विजन कैसे कैसे होगा?
Vision or imagination, even imagination or vision.
आप सबको इबाम समझ में आ गए ना as long as the point is understood. So आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम को ने फरमाया कि इनको इल्हाम कुछ लोगों को इल्हाम होते थे पिछली उम्मत में, वो मुहद्दस होते थे. से मेरी उम्मत में जिसको इल्हाम होता है that is उमर रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु. एक मौके पे Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if there was ever a prophet after me, لو كان بعدي نبي, it would have been Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. لَقَانَ Umar bin Khattab. What does that mean? That means that if Allah was to assign a prophet after him, the qualities of a prophet after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, naturally less than that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he was the greatest of the prophet, would have been that in Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But since he was Khatamul Nabiyyin, there was never a possibility of him being a prophet. Now, since we spoke about Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu last time at such length, as a student, a thought may come that, given the high qualities that we spoke about in Abu Bakr Siddiq and, high status that he had, and Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu say that I can never match him in any quality and, and what he has done. Why would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not say this about Abu Bakr Siddiq? Why have this thing say about Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu? So the answer for that is that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he had Mayat Kubra. He, as we discussed, his personality was at the same par as that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the exception of Nabuwa, which of course makes the difference of the day and night. But other than that, they were at par, and we saw how that was so. So therefore, if there was to be one after that who was to come, that was Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Umar radiallahu ta'ala that I swear by the one in whose hand my life is, that wherever you are, the shaitan changes his path from there. So that was the robe of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said about Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put haqq on the tongue of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The way he accepted Islam is also a very fascinating incident. So at the very beginning, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started preaching Islam, at that point in time, around about 45 Sahaba Ikram had accepted Islam and even then the Arabs had the Quraysh, especially his own family, his own clan, had started opposing him, and they would go out of their way to taunt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to make fun of him, to even abuse him, to call him all kinds of words, to call him majnoon, to call him that he is, he has a jinn, he's possessed. All kinds of things were being thrown at him, and this would hurt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one such occasion happened that Abu Jahl really went out, abused Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam a lot. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was really hurt. So Hamza, who was the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had not accepted Islam at that time. He was out for a hunt, and on his way back, he heard that Abu Jahl has really hurt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is really down. So he didn't go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He instantly went to Abu Jahl. He was sitting with the other clans of other leaders of the clan. He took out his sword, turned his sword upside down, and bang, straight on the head of Abu Jahl. And Abu Jahl's head started bleeding. He said, "Next time, don't do that to my nephew." So Abu Jahl said that don't say anything to Hamza right now, because if we say, it will be very costly for us, because the entire Quraysh will turn against us. He was, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu was also a leader. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Darul Arqam. Darul Arqam is a place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started the dawah. So it was the house of Sayyidina Arqam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and that was the first madrasa of our deen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go there very quietly, just like we are sitting here discreetly in pretense of having dinner and everything. They would do the same thing. Hide under the cover, just gather. Nobody should know where. And Rasulullah, whatever Quran had come at by that time, would tell the Sahaba Ikram, would teach them Quran, would teach them whatever about Tawheed that they wanted, that had been revealed to Rasulullah. This was Darul Arqam. Darul Arqam, by the way, is where Safa is. If you go to, it's close to Safa. So now it is within the Haram itself, but it was close to Safa. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was there. Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu came and he said that, look, this is what I have done to Abu Jahl. And he was expecting that when he would tell that I have done this to Abu Jahl, it would make Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam very happy, and he would be, it would lift his spirits up. But when he told this to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't show that he was happy. He didn't show that this was something that has pleased him. Sayyidina Hamza was concerned. He said, does it not make you happy that, I supported you like this? So he said, actually, what would make me really happy is that if you accept Islam. So Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Rasulullah. He accepted Islam right there and then. And this became the talk of the town. Now suddenly, one of the leaders of Quraysh, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, had become a Muslim. So people started talking about it, that Islam is spreading, Muhammad is doing his work, Quraysh are slowly falling in the trap, and this and this. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who has been watching all of this from a distance, was really perturbed by this. He got disturbed by this. He said, like, what is going on? It's not meant to be like this. We have our way of living. We have been doing this, our forefathers, our culture, our values, this and that. He was a principle-based personality. He didn't like too much variations coming in there in between. So he didn't want to have any of this. So he said, okay, there's only one way to deal with this. Let me go and, na'uzubillah, take care of Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He put on his armor, he took out his sword, put on his, he even took his bow and arrow, he took his, the javelin, the spear. Yeah, he took his spear and he said that, let me just go and now deal with it. I do not know what would be the thing that will be used, what will be the nature of the fight that I have to put, but let me be prepared. And he knew Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would be in Darul Arqam, he was heading there. And so it happened that one of the Sahabis who was a friend of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he met him. You look a bit upset. What's going on? He said, I am upset. This is enough. Enough is enough. Time to take care of this business of Islam. Let me put an end to it. So when the Sahabi who had already accepted Islam, but of course he never told Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu in this mood that he had accepted Islam, he said, oh, you're going to go and deal with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? What about your own sister and your brother-in-law? They have already accepted Islam. Now this came as a shock. They have accepted Islam and they have not even told me how dare they accept Islam without taking permission from. So he instantly turned and he went to it. And when he was entering, he heard that there was Quran being recited over there, right? So he knocked the door. The brother-in-law, Sayyidina Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he opened the door and he said, is it true that you guys have accepted Islam? So Sayyidina Sa'd said, if Islam is the truth, what's the harm in accepting it? As soon as he said that, Sayyidina Umar, beating. So his wife, came, and the sister of Sayyidina Umar, she stepped in. She said, try to protect. And as she stepped in, Sayyidina Umar gave her a smack on her, and she fell on the side. She got up, she was crying, she was bleeding. She said and now this shook Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu a bit, that, suddenly my own sister is hurt and bleeding. So he said that, how dare you guys accept Islam? And I'll not leave you guys till you tell me that you have left Islam. So Sayyidina Umar's sister, she said to him that, Umar, I have drank the same milk of the mother that you have drank, right? Our mother is the same, I've drank the same milk. So if you think that you can take Islam out of me, or Iman out of me, you first have to take the life out of me, right? So this also shook Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu a bit. Her name was Fatima. So, she said that, if my sister is so adamant on it, let me just dig up a bit more as to what is going on. So he said that when I came in, you guys were reciting Quran. Oh, I heard you recite something. What is it that you were reciting? So her sister said to him, Umar, you are a mushrik. You're not worthy of listening to this. If you want, go first, take a shower, and then come, and then I will recite it. And the ulama said that, there's hikmah in this as well, because although now if somebody wants to come and accept Islam, you would never tell them that go take a shower first. You would tell them to. But hikmah was that taking a shower further reduced it, cooled him down further. That gave him that break from the rage that he was in. It gave him that space that he wanted. So he was now mentally ready to listen to Quran. And he started reciting Surah Taha. He started reciting Taha, illa tazkiratan liman yakhsha, and then he recited all the way up to Innani anallahu la ilaha illa ana fa'buduni wa aqim al-salah liz-zikri. So when he heard this la ana la ilaha illallah illa ana fa'buduni, this struck Sayyidina, who is asking me that also worship me. So he said that take me to your take me to Rasulullah. So there was a Sahabi who was actually there to teach Quran to Sayyidina Saad and his sister. He was hiding. He didn't want to be in the open. When he heard this, he came out of the hiding and he said, Umar, congratulations. Rasulullah has been making dua for you. So I think Allah has turned your heart. But Umar didn't say anything. He said, just take me to Rasulullah. So with his sword in the hand, he was taken to Darul Arqam. The door knocked, looked out, who's this? It's Umar with his sword in hand. Sayyidina Hamza was there as well. He said, okay, bring him in. If he wants to fight, let him fight. I have the sword with me as well. We'll see who prevails. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu comes in. He stands in front of Rasulullah. Rasulullah holds him from this place, where you tie your shalwar. He held him from this place and he pulled him up. He said, when will you say kalima? And Umar radiallahu ta'ala said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. As soon as he said this, all the Sahaba in unison said, Allahu Akbar. You can imagine this was like, just as we were cheering the last four right now, right? So it was no less an occasion than that. It was a very tense moment, which certainly turned into a very great, victory for Islam. So there's Allahu Akbar, and everybody, actually, entire surrounding herd, 12, 15 Sahaba who were there, they all, everybody said Allahu Akbar at the same time, and everybody else in the surrounding herd. This Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, afterwards, he said, Rasulullah, is it not time for us to pray? Because he had heard, so he was eager to pray as well. So he said, is it not time for us to pray? He said, it is. He said, then what are you going to do? He said, we pray here. He said, no. Now we'll no longer pray here. Let's go to Makkah. Let's go to Kaaba. We'll pray in front of the Kaaba. And I'll see who is there going to stop us. So Sahaba Ikram, along with Rasulullah, went to Kaaba. They made two safs. One saf, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the other saf, Sayyidina Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu. They were all there standing, and Umar radiallahu ta'ala announced that, is there anyone who wants to make his wife a widow, his child an orphan, then come and stop us. That was the daring personality of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And because of this, the difference that he created after coming into Islam, he was given the title of Farooq. Farooq means the one who creates a difference. Farq karne wala. Sayyidina Abdullah bin Masud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says about Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that indeed Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu accepting Islam was the fatha, was the victory of Islam. His hijrat was the help of Islam, and his becoming the Khalifa was the rahmat on the ummah of the Muslims. And it was indeed. And Rasulullah had predicted this before. Actually, before his Khilafat, I was telling about the love of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that Allah had. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also regarded Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There are more than 4 occasions on which Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu gave the advice to Rasulullah, and then in support of that advice, the Quranic ayat came as well. Same as what Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was at. So he had, why? Because he had great foresight. He could tell things, as Rasulullah had said that he was a muhaddas of our ummah. Rasulullah saw a dream. He saw that once he was taking water out of the well, and as he was doing that, he kept on doing it, and then he got tired. And then Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu took the rope from him, and he started pulling. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu took out the water from the well for a while, and after a while he got tired as well. But then Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu took the responsibility, and he started taking out the water from the well, and he took out so much water that everybody got to benefit from it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the ta'bir of the outcome of this dream that he saw was that in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Islam, although got established, but it was just initial stage of Islam. And then Abu Bakr Siddiq, when he took the reins, he too had many problems that were instantly faced. There was people who gave up on Islam. There were people who claimed prophethood. So he had to settle things down. Then he was only prophet for a very short time. He did. He was Khalifa for a very short time, and which didn't give him much. But Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, alhamdulillah, Allah gave him a long time to be the Khalifa, and in his Khilafat, a lot happened. So much so that Islam got spread all the way up to what was then Sham, and is now Syria and all those areas, and even Baitul Muqaddas Jerusalem got conquered at that time in his Dawr Khilafat. And that incident of conquering of Baitul Muqaddas is also an amazing one. I don't know how many times I've read this or heard this, but every time it is an amazing incident. Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was the Sipah Salar. He was the person who was given the charge to lead the army in this battle or in this conquest. And when he reached Baitul Muqaddas, the Muslim army surrounded it, and now there was basically a standoff. Muslims army was surrounding, and the Jews were within their area. So after a while, the scholars from the Jews, they came out, and they said to him to Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, they said that there's no point you fighting us. If you are the one who Allah has allowed to conquer Baitul Muqaddas, then the signs of that are already written in our books. You call your leader, and when he will come, we will compare the signs that he has written in our books with him. If they match, we will give the keys of Baitul Muqaddas to you ourselves. And if they don't, then you can fight with us all your lives, and you will not conquer Baitul. So, Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, he wrote a letter to Sayyidina Umar, and he said to him that this is what is happening. What do you suggest? So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu made a mashwara with his council, and they said to him that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, it is not recommended that you leave the center. You're required. Your presence is important for Islam. We do not recommend that you leave the center. So he said that. He thought about it, and he said, no, I will go. So when he was about to set on the journey, people said to him that, Amirul Mu'mineen, what you're wearing at that time, Sayyidina Umar was wearing clothes which had 12 patches sewn on it. 12 पेवन लगे हुए थे उसके ऊपर. And he was sitting on his camel, अपनी ऊँटनी पे बैठ रहे थे, and he was about to go. So people said to him that, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, you are the representatives of the Muslim. You are our Prime Minister, you are our head of the Muslims, you are going to the stage as a conqueror. Do something, put on some nice clothes. Here's a horse which is looks like a battle-hardened horse. Take this. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu heard the counsel of those people, and he put on the clothes, and he took the horse, and he started the journey. Few miles into the journey, and he was with one of his slaves. Few miles into the journey, he got off the horse, he put back on his torn clothing, and he said, I will travel on my camel. And he said to his slave that we'll cut a deal. The deal is that I will ride the camel for 1 mile, and you will walk, and then the next mile you will ride and I will walk. So they will alternate between walking and riding the camel. And it so happened that when they were reaching Baitul Muqaddas, it was the turn for the slave to ride the camel. So they entered Baitul Muqaddas with Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu holding the camel with a rope, not even with a leather sling, with a rope in his torn clothes sewn from 12 places, with the slave riding on the camel. So when the Jews saw this, they said that, Wallahi, this is the conqueror of Baitul Muqaddas. In our books, it has been mentioned that the person who would come to conquer would be like this. He would be wearing clothes with 12 areas where it would be sewn off, and he will be pulling his slave on the camel. So, subhanAllah, this was the ajzi of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala. Another very interesting incident happened over here. So once Sayyidina Umar, as a boy, they would all, we heard this about Rasulullah sallallahu, about Abu Bakr, we heard this as well, that they would all go to trade in Syria. In that area, they would go for trade. So Umar radiallahu anhu, before Islam, would also go and trade. And on one such trade trips, he got lost from his group. And now he was looking for them, and he couldn't find them anywhere. So he sat down against under the shade of a house wall. So the person in that house, he came out, and he was one of the, he was one of the scholars of people of the book. So he said that, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for my group. I've lost them. He said, I'll take you to your group, but I want you to do a deal with me. I said, what kind of deal? He said, I want you to give it to me in writing that when you come here as the king, you will not charge me tax. So Umar looked at him and started laughing. He said, I am not even likely to become king of Quraysh, let alone become king of Arabs, and let alone become king of this country, which is so far from even the Arabs. So what are you talking about? So I said, forget about that. I don't care if you do understand or not. I just want you to give it to me in writing that you will not charge. So Umar said that, maybe this is an old guy.
That was the reason of that other person. Other person that think you will become a king.
Yes, this was the other person. He was telling him.
So it wasn't ilham to.
No. It wasn't ilham. It was the other person. He was saying to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and this is Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu as a young boy before accepting Islam. He was there on the trade visit. He got lost, and he was sitting, and somebody, the person who came out from the house, he was one of the scholars of the people of the book. So he said to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that I'll take you to your group, but I want you to.
It's very interesting because some like daydreaming, telling me.
Yes, so this is what exactly Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was thinking as well. That what are you going on about? So he didn't, he just signed it. He said, let me just go to my group. And when Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had conquered that area, now that the Baitul Muqaddas fell, this area surrounding it also fell. And the option that is always given was that either you accept Islam or you pay jizya, right? Jizya means that you pay a tax. So this person came up to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he said that, here's that letter. And Umar said, what is this? He said, remember at that time you signed this letter and I told you that you would be a king. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala started crying. He said that, subhanallah, look at the greatness of Islam, that Islam had brought me to this place where I am now king of all this surrounding. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would never feel proud of the fact that he was Amirul Mu'mineen. In fact, he had such a humble personality that he would often remind himself of, how lowly he was. Once he stood up on the minbar and gathered all the Sahaba Ikram, and he started telling them all about, that how his father thought that he was useless, how he was used to, take the sheep out, and even then that he would not be able to take care. His father would say to him that, if you even become a good shepherd, that would be a good thing in your life. So, the Sahaba Ikram would be thinking, why is Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu telling us all this? In the end, he said, I'm telling you all of this so that you realize that whatever I am today is because of it. Once he was traveling with his army through the valley of Makkah, and he stopped. And this was middle of the day, hot summer day. Now he stopped, the entire army has stopped, and everybody is sweating. So those who were close to him, he said, Amirul Mu'mineen, what has happened? Why have you stopped? He said that I've just stopped because I wanted to remind myself that this is the valley where I would be, if I had not accepted Islam, I would probably still be shepherding the sheep in this valley and would have been nobody. So he would always remind himself of what Islam had given to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given such acceptance to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that the different elements of the earth would obey him as well. So air, water, earth, fire, all of them would obey the order of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Once Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was,
So what does it mean like?
I'll tell you. Once Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was standing in Medina Munawwara, that the earth started shaking. There was an earthquake. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu stamped his foot on the ground, and he said, "O earth, why are you shaking? Is Umar not doing adl on you? Is Umar not making adl on you?" And as soon as he said that, and as soon as he stomped his foot, the earthquake stopped.
One question, like, you know these Sufis nowadays, do they follow these kind of things?
This is
No, it's not. It has got nothing to do with the Sufis, but the way they describe stuff, that we have got this power, we have got this power.
I'll come to that. Let me just complete these 4 things, and then inshallah I'll come to that. Then once he was giving the khutbah of Jummah, and all of a sudden he said, "Ya Sariyatul Jabal." Sayyidina Sariya radiallahu ta'ala anhu was leading an army in battle, which was thousands of miles away from Medina Munawwara. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had a kashf, he had a foresight where he saw that there was an army that was coming in from the mountainside on which Sayyidina Sariya was not aware. So he said, "Ya Sariyatul Jabal." And Sayyidina Sariya, when he came back, he said that, "I don't know, we were in that battle, and suddenly I heard the voice of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu say to me, 'Ya Sariyatul Jabal.' We looked at the mountain, and there was the enemy coming, and we moved towards them, and we conquered." So the wind carried the sound of Sayyidina Umar to Sayyidina Sariya. One of the very interesting incidents happened that when Egypt was conquered, Amr bin As radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was made the head of Egypt. He was made the Khalifa in Egypt. And in the summers, the Nile water sank down and there was a water shortage. So the local people said to him that, "Look, before Islam, our tradition has been that we would put in a virgin in the water, and as soon as the virgin would go, the water would accept the virgin, water would accept the gift of the virgin, and it would start flowing again. So let's do the same and we'll be back to normal." So Amr bin As, he said, "Let me consult with Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu." He wrote to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu and he said, "This is what the local tradition is. Are we to follow the same or not?" So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that, "No, we are not. This is not going to be happening. We will not be doing any such thing with them." He wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the river Nile. He said that if you flow, what was it? Yeah. Agar tu apni marzi se chalta hai, if you flow by your own will, right, then don't move. But if you move by the command of Allah, then I make a request to Allah to make you flow. And he said that put this water in Nile and put this letter in Nile. And as soon as this letter was put in the Nile started flowing, and it says that till now it has not stopped. So how many things I've covered? I've covered earth, wind, and fire. No, I haven't covered fire. Water. Fire. Once, if you go a bit out of Medina Munawwara, you will see that there are actually still volcanic rock formations that are there. If you take off from Medina Munawwara airport, you see on the surroundings there are still volcanic formations. So once a volcano erupted and this fire had started coming close to the main city of Medina. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the Khalifa. He said to one of his companions, Tamim Dari radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, "Go and shoo the fire away." So Tamim Dari radiallahu ta'ala anhu offered 2 rakat nafal, made dua, went to where the fire was. He had one of the, rumal that you put on your shoulder. He had that. He started doing and the fire started moving back and it rolled back as well. These are all things which are well documented. These are not some things which are coming with weak narrations. They're all with strong narrations as well. So they're all there. These were the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had because of the taqwa of Umar radiallahu ta'ala. And this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the greater you are in taqwa, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make everything submissive to you. How so? I'm saying Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had such taqwa that once Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu came to him, and it was night time, and Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was doing some official work at that time. So as soon as Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu came, he sat down, he asked that, "Ali, have you come for some official discussion or personal discussion?" He said, "I've come for some personal discussion." So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu switched off the lamp So Ali radiallahu ta'ala said that, Umar, isn't it that when the guest come, that you greet the guest, you probably light a few more lights just to make sure that the guest is taken care of? He said that this light or this lamp is burning from the oil of Baitul Mal, and I only switch it on when I'm doing some official work. Because you have come for a personal discussion, it is not for me to switch on this lamp and burn the oil of Baitul Mal while I'm having some personal discussion. And personally, I don't have much oil to burn to do your ikram, so it will be like this. That's how particular he was. In another incident, once a lot of perfume, itar, came to as Mal Ghanimat, as the booty of war, it came, and it was to be distributed among the people in Medina Munawwara. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu's wife, she said that I will distribute it among the women. That Umar radiallahu ta'ala said that. She said, I will do a good job. I'll be just. I'll make sure that everybody gets a fair thing. He said that, yes, I am 100% confident that you will do a fair job, but I do not want that while you're distributing the perfume that belongs to Baitul Mal, that you should even smell it. That's how much he was particular in making sure that there was. And then he also has this fear of being answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes in narrations that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had hired a person to remind him of death every often. One day he said to that person that, thank you, you're no longer required. So that person said that, do you not fear death anymore? He said, I still fear death, but now I have a strand of white hair in my beard, and this white beard strand, one single hair of a white hair in my beard is enough to remind me of that. I don't need you anymore.
So that was his personal servant or the official one to remind him? Personal. Okay.
You can imagine that he would not hire a personal of an official person for this purpose.
He must have bought a mirror then afterwards. Must have bought a mirror to look the white hair in his beard.
Yeah, पता नहीं क्या mirror तो होगा शायद, क्या पता. Sayyidina Huzaifa radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was somebody who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had informed about the names of the munafiqeen, and he was among the few Sahabis who officially knew about the names of the Sahaba. Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he had such fear that he called Huzaifa and said, I know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has forbidden you not to tell the names. Just please tell me that is my name there or not. That's how much shirk that he had of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he told that you're not a munafiq, he made a dua that, Ya Allah, make my appearance, make my inner as beautiful as you may have made my appearance in the sight of others. Even when Huzaifa radhiyallahu ta'ala started praising him and started telling him that you are Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are this, you are that, he said, made a dua to Allah that, Ya Allah, make my batin as beautiful as you have made my zahir in the sight of others. He would often make a dua which people would find very strange. He would make a dua that, Allahumma rizukni shahadatan fi sabilik, that Ya Allah, give me shahada in your path, which made sense. But the next part of it, waja'al mawti fi baladi rasulik sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and give me death in the city of your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And people would say to him that, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are Amir al-Mu'mineen, our control has now spread all the way up to far into Baitul Muqaddas. How do you expect that anybody would come and kill you in Medina Munawwara itself? He said that Qadar Allah, he wanted this dua to be accepted, and Allah did accept that dua. One of his slaves, he was still a non-Muslim. He got into some misunderstanding with Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He wanted something from Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu felt that it was not the right thing to demand, so he refused it. So once Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was leading the prayer of Fajr, so he came, he had dipped the dagger in poison, and he came and he stabbed Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu in the stomach and took it out. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu fell. This was Fajr Salah going on, so the Sahaba Ikram, another Sahabi replaced, he stood, he came in front, they completed the Fajr, and then they attended Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu didn't pass away straight away. He was taken to house. They tried to, put leather to cover the wound. He would be given something to drink, and whatever he would drink, it would come out from here, from the stomach. It was his stomach that had been punctured. So he said to his son, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar, he said that when my soul is taken out, be quick in giving me the bath and doing my janazah and doing the kafan, and make sure that you put me in the qabr as soon as possible. He said it once, he said it twice, he said it thrice. 4-5 times when he said this to Abdullah bin Umar, he said, why are you saying this over and over again? What's the hurry? He said that if Allah is pleased with me, then I do not want to be kept away from meeting my Creator. And if Allah is displeased with me, then I do not want the burden of my crops to be on this earth. It should be put away as soon. Even at that point in time, this was his state. He asked for permission from Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, because it was the house of Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha where Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was resting. And because Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the father of Sayyidina Aisha, he was also there, and still Sayyidina Aisha was in that house. So now Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu wanted to seek the permission of being buried there as well. So he sent a permission. So he sent somebody to seek the permission, and Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that so it be. She moved out of that house, and after his death, Sayyidina Umar was buried in the same place where Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq are. That is why now when we go to Roza Mubarak, we first say salam to Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala, and then to Umar radiallahu anhu. So this was Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. What a great Sahabi he was. There's so much more to learn about him, and the more you learn about him, the more you love him. In the limited time that we have, I hope we have done some justice. Great personality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the same level of taqwa, the same level of love that he had. For one more incident, this will be the last thing I tell you about. And this personally for me is perhaps the greatest indicator of the love or the respect that he had for Sayyidina Rasulullah. Once he came to Rasulullah and he said, Rasulullah had said that your iman will not be complete, had made a journal statement that your iman will not be complete till you love me more than your wealth, your children, your wife, your parents, and yourself. Your iman will not be complete. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he heard this, after a while he came to Rasulullah and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than everything else but myself. I want us to stop at this point and imagine who this conversation is going on between. This is a discussion going on between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, two of the highest ranking personalities of Islam. The Ummah has unanimously agreed that throughout people looked up to Abu Bakr, to Umar, whenever there was a matter, because they knew that they were left and right hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah said that Allah have given me 2 people in this dunya and 2 people in the Asman. So Umar and Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu were the left and right hands of Rasulullah. This person is coming and telling Rasulullah that, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than everything else except myself. For myself, I love myself more. Look at the honesty that he would have, and look at how much he would have thought about it. He would have really looked into himself to think that, who did he really love? And the answer was, it was himself. And he didn't shy away from telling this to Rasulullah. If it was any one of us, we can't even go and tell to our wife that we love, cricket more than her, right? So, this is actually be really upset that, how, if we love anything else more than somebody, we would try to hide that, cover that, so that and we will give ourselves a reason so that it doesn't hurt that person. I'll deal with myself, but let me not hurt their feelings. He said that I have to explain this to Rasulullah because he knew that the completeness of Iman relied on him loving Rasulullah even more than himself. And if he would tell this to his Murabbi, he would tell this to his Shaykh, he would tell this to his Payghambar, he would make dua for him and it will get cured. This thing will get cured. And when he told this to Rasulullah wasn't hurt. He didn't throw a temperament and he's like, what? You love me? You don't love me enough? He wasn't like, how can this be? He just simply said, Umar, your iman will be complete if you love me. Umar left, he gave it some thought, he came back, he said, Rasulullah, I love you more than everything else, and even more than my own self. And Rasulullah said, oh Umar, now your iman is complete. Now your iman is complete. That's the level of relationship they had. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the same level of completeness in iman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to love these sahabas that they deserve. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.